Roller coasters are meant to be an enjoyable experience. Most are fun, forceful, and smooth. But every once in a while, you come across a coaster that manages to do everything wrong. It's boring, forceless, rough, or all three. Today, I am ranking those rides from best to worst. These are my top 10 least favorite roller coasters. Before we get into the honorable mentions, I would like to say that I am not including any kiddie coasters. I am only including coasters that are meant to be thrilling but fail or hurt the rider. There are a few coasters that were close to having the honor of being the worst, so these are the rides that didn't make the cut. Corkscrew at Cedar Point, a rough and short aero looper. Trailblazer at Hershey Park, a short and jerky mine train, and the most controversial one, Gemini, a jerky, slow, and boring aero at Cedar Point. Now let's get into the actual list. This ride is cloned everywhere, but still has the honor of being among my least favorites. Even for a family coaster, this ride is garbage. Instead of a thrilling family coaster, the ride is slow, jerky, and even worse than some of the other Wild Mouse coasters. Wild Mouse at Dorney Park has some of the worst restraints, causing serious pain on the turns. But the turns on this ride are almost non-existent. They are slow and provide no force. In fact, the most forceful part of this family coaster is the final brake run, which throws riders into their hard restraint. Ricochet at Carowinds is much better than this Wild Mouse. I am a wooden coaster fan, but this was a wooden coaster that is one of my least favorite. Hurler actually starts out decent, with a fun drop and smooth turn, but from here on out, the ride is a hunk of garbage. Hurler is spread out for the rest of the layout, causing for a forceless, boring, and slow ride experience. All those airtime hills provide nothing. Every turn causes some serious jackhammering, especially the main turnaround. And the ride seems to never end, which would usually be a good thing, but here, riders have to endure a long, forceless, and painful experience. Just go next door and ride Fury. The Mine Train is one of the most iconic coasters. Some manage to be enjoyable, but others not so much. The first of the two mine trains on this list is one that enthusiasts hate on just like me. River King Mine Train at Six Flags St. Louis is as boring as a mine train can get. And this ride isn't particularly jerky either. The thing is, most mine trains have a theme, or at least a setting, such as Adventure Express through a temple, or Carolina Gold Rusher, a quest for gold. River King Mine Train is what it says in the name, a mine train. Is there a river? No. It's a field with a few trees, so nothing to look at. Riders just have to endure the boring layout with 3 different lift hills. The only somewhat enjoyable section is the tunnel at the end, which is also the jerkiest part of the experience. If this ride had a big drop or a setting, it would be a decent mine train, but instead we have this bland experience. Aero loopers have some charm to them. A lot of them aren't the smoothest, but still have some value, such as Vortex before it was removed, or Tennessee Tornadoed. But Carolina Cyclone has no redeeming qualities. Even the unique color scheme has been replaced by a traditional blue. The ride, like most of the other coasters on here, has no force. The vertical loops, which usually have some good positives, for some reason have no force whatsoever. The corkscrews are taken at a bad speed, so there is no whip but also no hang time, only pain. But the most painful part of this ride is the transition out of the vertical loops. The ride pops up to try to give airtime but banks to the right, causing an extremely jerky pop which causes nothing but pain. Another instance where you should just walk the short distance to Fury. Another clone coaster, all with different experiences. I've ridden Sidewinder and Flying Cobras, which both have the comfortable vest restraints, which eliminate all pain this ride has. I had the unfortunate opportunity of riding Boomerang at Six Flags St. Louis this summer, and I honestly should have skipped this ride. Even from off-ride, you can tell this ride is going to be a pain in the neck, quite literally. The first chain lift is the best part of the ride, but only the first one. The second one, for some reason, has the harshest jolt on a coaster I've experienced. This causes a severe moment of whiplash where your head jolts into the headrest. Another painful moment is the entrance into the Cobra Roll, where the train bashes your head into the hard over-the-shoulder restraint. From then on out, the train shakes, rattles, and rolls before it finally reaches the station with one last jolt. I would skip this ride when visiting. This is the only defunct coaster on this list, which is actually kind of sad. More parks need to replace their bad rides. This wooden coaster was luckily replaced by one of the best rides in the world. I got 2 rides on Mean Streak, and while this is one of my favorite roller coaster names, I can't deny how horrible the ride actually was. This ride was supposed to be a huge, fun, and smooth wooden coaster, but the only thing it accomplished was being an eyesore. The 2 trims on the first drop really showed how the rest of the layout would be. Very boring. Every turn is taken slowly with an annoying screeching coming out of each one. The hills provide no force other than bumping riders in every direction. The only pop of airtime down the second turn provided an uncomfortable jolt into the small restraint. Steel Vengeance was a massive upgrade from this ride. Again, mine trains are supposed to be fun and peaceful rides, but Cedar Creek Mine Ride is everything but that. It's surprising that this 40-foot tall coaster is the roughest coaster in the park. Words cannot describe how much whiplash is on this coaster. You thought the jolt on Boomerang was bad? Try a severe jolt on every single corner of this ride. Even the pre-lift section has a jolt. The setting is nice, but really not noticeable on the ride because guests are bracing for every sharp corner. Even families can enjoy this coaster because every turn provides neck pain, the worst of which is the second helix before the second lift. Riders experience something similar to the Carolina Cyclone jolt, also known as not enjoyable. You know, guests should really avoid this side of Six Flags St. Louis. This side of the park has River King, Boomerang, and the worst of the worst, Ninja. This is the only themed coaster on the list because it really does beat you up. This ride was a recipe for disaster, as it was built by both Arrow and Vekoma. These manufacturers are known for wacky transitions, and both of them together equals one of the jerkiest rides in the world. The only redeeming quality is the chain lift head chopper after the Sidewinder. Speaking of the Sidewinder, this is the jerkiest part of any coaster I've experienced. It throws riders' head around like a pendulum swinging into the hard restraints. Everything else is a jolty experience from the ending helix to just the turn off the lift hill. Avoid this ride at all costs. GCIs are normally very fun and exciting. Rides like Mystic Timbers and American Thunder are among my favorite. I thought they would all be similar until I experienced the monstrosity that is Wildcat. This ride is the opposite of wild, except for one element which I will explain in a minute. The entirety of this ride is high off the ground. Basically Mean Streak, but not as big, and also with a surprise in the middle of the ride, which was the most painful moment I've experienced on a ride. This off-axis airtime hill is usually fun on rides like Twisted Timbers. For some reason, Wildcat's off-axis hill provides no airtime, instead a massive jolt into the side of the seat. This manages to be very painful because of the hard restraint and seat. Just skip this ride and move down to Lightning Racer. This is the most hated roller coaster in the world. Worst of all, it is cloned at a bunch of small parks around the world. The Vekoma SLC. The one that I had the pleasure of riding was T3. I might be getting on a traditional one soon, but for now, this is the only one I've ridden. This ride was supposed to eliminate headbanging, but it instead moved the pain to people's legs. Throughout the entire ride, the restraints closed down, causing cut circulations from the legs on this ride. It is just an endurance test. And the ride didn't even eliminate headbanging. Now your head just sways everywhere, as it is over the restraint. So this ride can't do anything right. Just skip past this pain machine while you're at the park. Thank you so much for watching. If you enjoyed this video, leave a like and subscribe. Comment your least favorite coasters and have a great rest of your day.